Right.
Paul,
Thanks,
it's over
everyone.
to you.
Thanks very much. Good evening, everyone. Yeah, so this has been a 2-year exercise in some pretty extreme punishment. So, where it started is I bought a 1913 Renault, and obviously in the process of restoring it, we discovered that the cylinder head is pretty much non-functional. So, we tried to repair it, re-weld it up, but it was just an absolute non-starter. So we decided let's see if we can actually remake it. And there's, a pattern maker, Ivan Ellis, who's out in Talton. I went to see him and I said, "Are you up to the challenge?" And at the age of 80, he decided to take on this challenge. And it was quite interesting because he says, he's been going now for actually 60 years. And he said this was his greatest challenge that he ever did. So we managed to get it not running as yet. Where we're battling at the moment is actually to do the final casting. With all the power failures, we can't find first of all, we can't find a foundry that's willing to do a one-stop. And when we do find the foundry, they're just really battling with the power issues. We're actually hoping to do the final cast in probably about the next 3 weeks. We found a place in spring, so we reckon that's going to run. So I think where I'm going to start is actually just run a YouTube video. Just by the way, there are a number of these videos on YouTube. All you got to do is search Koski, which is Koski, and Renault, and you'll see the 3 YouTube videos come up. So let's just start off by doing the one video, and then I'll come back afterwards. All right. Okay.
Yeah, but so where do we start? What are you? We did talk. As you got, yeah. But this whole unit here made it up to work at the vote. With it. Section D. That's going into each cylinder. That's right. That's it. In other words, that goes to the So then that gave you an idea actually how it will work. With this whole year, these and I fitted it on there to make sure how we fit with these valves. Because as I explained to you before, that actually comes in there. But now we had to remake it all over. So that is the whole idea. There's no exhaust. That's not good. It comes inside. Now my point of view all the time was this port that goes in. This is your intake port. Yeah, that's the intake. Yeah, that's just when this is exhaust. Yeah, that's exhaust. That's right. Yeah. I just put all of that. Make sure it fits in. Now, what I did there, as I explained to you at the time, we can't afford to get a bit of fin. See, we can't afford to don't get a clean casting going there into the cylinder. Okay, yeah, this is. If there's a bit of fin, even the thickness of paper or something else. Yeah, sure. Yeah, you take it. Now, if you actually end up getting a bit of spin there, there's no need for fueling. And you can't get this, yeah, you can't get it. You can't get from the cylinder. That's right, yeah. The size I got to right is that I worked at. Yeah, which you can see there. Yeah, there's your port very big. Okay, fine. Okay, then, take this one away from now. Now this is your there's your cylinders. And you are seeing the same thing? Yeah. See? That's like you see. Okay, now I've made it in such a way that this, that stop there won't be no fin there, yeah, that's right. That is my biggest worry, because normally you've got to just put that core against that core, and if there was a bit of fin, you could just knock it out with a chisel and grind it. But now you can't. It's not get in there. Yeah, there's no ways you can get there. So you'll end up getting a bit of finning. Yeah, that's it. So to make this core, I have to do it this way. So what they'll do is that's on this put those to the front. They'll land their sand up in the core box, and they can scrape their sand off. Yeah. If they can't make it, I'll make it for them. And then this one, as the sand is dry enough, you lift this one off first. It's there. That's coming away. So you pour this onto that core there. And you open this box up. You take your core out. Yeah. Only say yes, yeah. It's all going to be painted. See, that's right. Yes. Then you've got exactly what you've got there. That's there. Yeah, that's there. Yeah. You bring it down, you can put it in just to show you. Okay. Just bring it like this, lift it out there. You see? You take that one. You put it in there. So once we've made this now, yeah. What I've made down in wood now is going to be sand. Sand. Okay. It's going to be a sand. Of course, it's going to be completely around. Yes, yes, and it's going to have those cords sticking out there. Yes. Then the molder would take this as it is. I'll do it. This is your mold. You want to paint it out in sand. Okay. Then you take this core and you have to put this core in. But you paint properly now. Yes, yes. Now there's another one like this made goes in there. Yeah, this is completely around. That's right. I only made one part. Yeah. But there I made a full. Yeah, that's a full. Yes. So now you've got your ground guide, your inlet and your exhaust sticking out there. Then you come along with it. This is your other core. And then you would drive that core in there. Up. You the side of the engine. Yes. The section area from there. Then we're going to take this core, which is also in the sand now, of course, understand it? Like that core in there. Now we've got that core standing out there. So in other words, that piece there, is that piece over there. Okay. But that's where your water jacket. That's right, yes. Okay. Yeah. Now we come along to our water jacket here. That one is wood here. And it's painted here. Because we're going to make that in sand. Okay, so that is sand. They're going to try, but it's got to be made. Yeah, but I made it simple. Put the dang of sand in there. And you know why I say this is because I have my own family for 45 years. So I've done this on these, I know it can be done. So when the sand is dry, they're going to best to get it out. So I made it such a way that you pull this one out like that. And then that's over there. Pull that sand out there. So it's cool. Yes. Alright, we've made the sand full. So that's not sand. That's sand, okay? And your core, your water jacket goes in there. This is metal. That's metal. It's not that all of it is metal. That's where they use the aluminium. Yes. So this is your water jacket. Yeah. Okay. So in other words, that's going to be a hole. Yeah. Just the opposite to what we've got there. Got there, yes. Yes. Yeah. But now my biggest worry was here was to keep this core in one position here. But fortunately, how tiny it is. When I do it, stop it. Okay. So when you close it down, I try to be careful. And then what you try. Yes, yeah. Okay. But if I make it all in one core, it's going to make it. They'll break it before they get down. Get it down. No. Because this, sorry, that section there, is. That section on the other side. Those are two holes coming. So what you're looking at here, you're only seeing the inside.
Yeah, no, the inside.
So what is that color? Your cylinders are. Yeah. Then we bring this here. Yeah.
Any trees left?
Not many, not many. Now if you look at this one, I should actually, yes, I am right. Where it's saying, you notice the angle, this angle, that angle,
Yeah.
that is.
Okay. So in other words, this goes. This is going to be.
This is the back.
No, that's the back. Okay.
So what they're going to do is, when we get there, we are going to now turn this upside down. That's the screw inside.
Yes.
My landmark, but don't think they're happy.
Oh, okay.
Everybody used to say, why? Just because then you know I made it. I've always done it from 16 years old. The foreman used to say to me, why the hell do you do that, Ivan? Say, because then you'll know that I made that paper. So you mold it like that, you turn the mold over, right? You with me? We pull this back up. Before we pull this back out, put one box there, you put another box on top. That's the tanks. I'm going to make a wooden box for you.
Yes.
Otherwise, they're going to bring me a box that's all skewed. So I'm going to make wooden boxes to add a plug.
Yeah.
So you're going to make that one is now made. You put this one on top. It's now finished. You're going to add it. So there's a joint in it. So now you make the top box.
Oh, okay. Yes.
You draw your top box off. With this pattern in, you put it there. Okay? You're going to draw this pattern also out.
Yeah.
Now this is the honor. This is already is that honor you got there.
Yes.
So that four slide in there. That four slides in there. That's what we did there now. We're doing the same thing. Exactly the same thing.
Yes.
As we did that, they can see how we put it together.
Yeah.
But now you got your top box. Here's your top box. Okay. Now that full box I haven't opened up yet. Get it for you. Let me show you why. Why I haven't opened it. Because I made a dummy for glass the face, but to make sure it fits perfectly before you get to the back.
Yeah.
You see, there's your dummy for. You look at this one. There's a piece of this one is really perfect. Just put it on top before you. Which is this one here. Okay.
That's right.
That's going to fit in there.
Yeah.
So your top corner. You can see there. Full plaster in there.
Yeah.
I'm going to get that full out in plaster first. To make sure that it fits perfectly.
Yeah.
So what I'm talking about now, take that cord and we glue it in. So this cord is going to hang in that top box. This cord.
Yeah.
Then at the same time, I want to. I don't know why they. That cord there. You put it in that position. I want to put glue on it. So when we bring this one down, now, stick on it.
This is going to be sandbag. Yeah, it's going to be so that sand you can glue onto that there.
Now we've got that cord being in there. And now we're going to close it on top of this mold.
That's right. Okay. Yes.
Now we've got that little cord. Side cords are all in. You will find there. That one is in here. Then the only cord you got to put now is that other cord looks over there. This one. Yeah. That's what it's like that.
That's right. Yes, yes, yes.
So you make this quarter, which this I don't know, full of the sand, and then they got this as the form.
So in other words, this will be sand.
This would be sand.
That's sand.
That's
Okay,
sand.
this is sand. Now you made it.
I made it there.
Go in there.
No, there's sand. Yeah. That is that sandwich.
Yeah.
Now, before we put our top on, we also going to put this for you, which will be paper. It's got to be in a little bit. We're going a little bit like this. Which will be supported. Outside? Yeah, yes. Before the top corner, in the top down, and then we're going to slide and go to what? Okay. And we already stand back and say our prayers, but nobody standing with all of in there, inside there. Yeah. And if it's done properly, they wouldn't be nobody stand, and nobody stand, you know? And then they'll report. Okay. When we can't stand up, just like it stands up here.
Yes, it's like that. Yeah. Okay, so it's going to be standing over there.
Like that.
Now, this bottom section, where is that?
Yeah, but it's yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And then we're all still the ground and then feel it.
Yeah.
We don't try to put that out. But we don't want no blood.
Yes, yeah, I like that. Because I've spoken to people, they say, if we do cast it, we must first cast it, we must cast it in aluminium, because they reckon if they get a little blower hole, they can repair it. But the cast sign, you won't.
But we don't want that.
Yes, yeah, no.
But it's always in the market, and then the can't market. They say, no, they don't worry about blood. I don't charge the blood.
Yes, you get them from that. Yeah. Okay.
So the idea would be, up to the family, right? I was casting it. I was casting in this side, yeah.
Yeah.
Down part all the way down there, to the bottom flange, we placed it. That's what I would do.
That's right, yeah.
And then, yeah, on the top, where your valves are,
Yeah.
that's going to be here, on the side, yeah.
That's right, yeah.
So, yeah. So actually, that whole watch line there, it's not finished yet.
So this is going to be sand.
That's going to be stuff. That's why you pour this, and this pour. Okay. Now you make your pour, but
Yeah.
that was the most complicated one, the one that worried me the most. But in the beginning, I first had this one separate. Use. And then I had an use like that. I thought, yeah, you know, if it gets bumped or something, that pool could move when it shouldn't move.
Yeah.
But in the finding anything possible.
Yes, yes.
At 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And 3 o'clock in the morning, you keep them in the way. Do them all together.
Yeah.
Now you've got a solid core here. They can't move. Because it's sad, you know?
Right, so that's episode 1 of 3, and I'll kind of leave you all to go and watch the other 2 videos on YouTube. I think what I'll do in the meantime is I'll just share a couple of photographs as well, where we've got the, let me just get it open here. Just give me a second. There's a slideshow somewhere here. There we go. And you'll see it's quite interesting how he did his drawings on a piece of board. But you'll see our first casting is going to come up pretty soon. You see all his tools are, I think, close to 100 years old. That lathe that he uses there is over 100 years old. There's the first casting.
Is that casting in aluminium?
Yes, we did the first one in aluminium. We cut it down the center so we can just see what's going on inside it. There's at the foundry. Yep. So that's the whole story. And with a little bit of luck, it may be in a car by the end of the year. Any questions?
You had one photograph there which showed something which appeared to be broken. About the third last number.
Yes, we cut it in half so we could see, what the inside looks like. There were a couple of faults on the first pattern, but now our final version now we reckon should be a working engine if we can get it right. We did a cast iron casting, but they never heated the metal up hot enough. And then the next one they didn't pour in enough metal. I think when one gets to these foundries, if you're not sitting there, with them and watching them, they're going to make a mess of it. So as I said, we've now found the next foundry, and with a little bit of luck in the next few weeks, we'll have a final engine.
How many hours have you guys got in the mold up to now, Paul?
Well, it's 2 solid years. In fact, it's about 3 years. It's been a long, long time. Look, we've been waiting for over a year to actually do this next casting, but we spent at least 18 months just on building those molds.
It's impressive. That guy's done brilliant work.
Yeah.
Have you got
any
pictures of the car?
Say that again?
Have you got any pictures of the car?
I should, yes. Give me a second. Let me go and find them. See what that...
Terwyl jy nou soek na die foto's van die kar, die blok, in watter materiaal gaan julle die blok giet?
Hopefully cast iron, but we may go back to aluminium. If we can't get a cast iron done, it's going to be done in aluminium. Okay, the original is cast iron.
Okay, as jy nou praat van cast iron en aluminium, die krampfaktor op die twee verskil.
Yes. Yeah, we've taken that into account.
Moet julle daarvoor gecompenseer?
It was actually very interesting because he played a bit of a trick on me, because I did my own measurements, and then when I measured the pattern, I said to Ivan, Ivan, your measurements are wrong. So he took out a ruler and he showed me. He says, look, my measurement's right. And then I had a tape measure and I took the measurements and the measurement was wrong. And the rulers that he uses, so he's got a brass ruler, he's got an aluminium ruler, he's got a cast iron ruler, and they've all got different measurements. So what he does is when he does his measurements, he hides his other rulers, so he doesn't accidentally make a mistake. So it's, he built the pattern with the metal shrinking properties in place.
So his ruler is compensating for the shrinkage and that already.
Yes. Yeah, he's got very specific rulers And he says to me he has to actually hide his rulers when he's working, because he says if he accidentally picks up a brass ruler, he says that happened to him many years ago. So it was interesting. It's been an education for me, you know, watching this whole process and how it works. You know, and you really should just go onto YouTube and search the other two videos. I think they're pretty much worthwhile watching if you can watch them, if you can get onto them. Let's just see if I can find these. I'm going to find a picture of the actual car.
Leon, joune is 'n 9, né?
Ja, maar dis die eie ek het die 2 silinder. Daai is die 4 silinder.
Okay, let me share my screen again. The car over there. It is currently on its wheels. This car's history was all the brass work was stolen. That's why that engine was damaged as well. So we've actually had to redo almost all the brass works, including the radiator. I found a radiator overseas. I brought it into the country. Turns out it was the wrong radiator. So we're now busy in the process of actually cutting it down to size. So that's the next major task, is that rear radiator. Who else has got a Renault there? Okay, have you got a Renault?
Leon.
No, Leon.
Oh, Leon's got it, yeah. I mean, it's got a very interesting airflow system where, you know, if you leave the bonnet hood open, it overheats. So you actually got to close it to keep that airflow, you know, moving through the back of the radiator. So it's quite an interesting process how the French did things. So that's the car. It is back on its wheels. This was a couple of years ago when we were busy getting it painted up.
Paul, and the wheels on the car, wooden spokes or metal?
Wooden spokes. Now, perhaps I'll just share something else at the same time. Give me a second. I'll just put up something else on screen.
Is it also a clincher tire, or is it
Yes. Also clincher, correct. So this is, I'll show you another exercise that I've done as well, which may be of fascination too. Let me share screen again. Has this bike come up on screen? Oh, it's a bit small. Let me find a bigger one. So this is another casting we did. Okay, this is a Bruff Superior, and it's called the Bruff Superior BS4. So it's come up now.
There it is, yeah.
Yeah, so this is a Bruff Superior 4, built in 1934, Austin 7 engine. And you'll notice it's got twin rear wheels, and it runs off a bevel drive system using Austin 4 parts without the spider gears. So I've been building a replica of this same bike. Effectively it's Bruff Superior parts, Harley Davidson frame, which is what he used at the time. Austin 7 engine from 1934. I had the radiators manufactured in New Zealand. And the main part that we didn't have, which of course, you know, they only would have made a handful of them. 5 of these bikes currently survive. They're mostly in museums. One of them burnt down in that museum fire in Austria. And apparently they're rebuilding it from the melted parts. The last one went up on sale at Sotheby's auction. And let me just get this photograph. If I can just stop sharing, I'll reshare. Let me go to, but I'll just show you the part that we built in what Ivan made for me. Just hold on, let's try and find it again. Okay, I'm just going to put up, it's a bit of a small photograph, but let's see if we can see it. I don't know if you can see it. Let me see if I can make it any bigger. Probably can't. So this bike was also burnt out in a fire. It was sold at Sotheby's for £400,000 about 5 years ago. I mean, mine is obviously a replica, but it's a replica using original parts. And as the complexity that we had was actually this bevel drive for the rear wheel. And let me see if I can find another photograph of that one. Let me open up another screen. Let's find it quickly. Yep, there we go. Let me reshare again. Okay, so there's the bevel. We had to make this. This was one of the parts that we casted. So we casted the bevel drive, we casted the water pumps. And in fact, I just went past the chap that's restoring it. We've actually now assembled the bike with the 2 twin rear wheels on it. So effectively, I think the bike for the first time is now standing on its own 2 wheels. I don't know if any of you knew Harry Shuttler. You know, Harry Shuttler was a big motorbike person. He passed away a couple of years ago. And he started building this bike, and he, you know, went up, took all the measurements overseas. I went to the UK, to the museums to take measurements. And I actually managed to find one person, in fact, he's the only private owner in the world who's got a Bruff Superior BS4. And before I went to see him, I had to sign a secrecy agreement, you know, where he lived. And the Bruff Superior Club doesn't know that one of their members has a BS4 because it's so valuable, and anybody can actually get into his garage and steal the bike. But he allowed me in to come and take measurements. So I'm hoping to have this bike on the road by the end of the year, or maybe to the first, you know, quarter of next year. So that's the other crazy project we have to make parts. So that's my mad story.
For something like this, the cost is obviously must be something crazy, because if you look at the time that this guy's put in for those molds, for example, certainly you can't pay a guy by the hour to do something like that.
Yeah, you know, interestingly enough, I mean, I suppose if I had a condensed amount of money that I paid him over the years, it probably comes to a lot of money. But it's almost every month, you know, he invoices me an amount for his time and I pay him. And, you know, it's one of those things that just land up paying an amount every month, and you're just trying to avoid working out how much you've actually paid him. Because if you're going to go jump off I think if I worked out what I've paid on fixing up and restoring cars over the last 15 years, we'll put it this way, if my wife knew what I spent on restoring cars, I think that would be an interesting story.
Yeah, I think often this kind of thing, you know, guys will have to obviously just invoice you for the love of doing the job rather than in the satisfaction he gets of doing something like that, you know, because I think in a lot of cases, the real cost, our labor cost is just not viable to be able to do something.
Not at all. I mean, you know, if I take this bike, if I get it wrong, it's worth nothing. If I get it right, there's 3 replicas in the world that I know of at the moment, and they could be worth about 50% of the value of an original one. You know, I mean, all the parts are original. The only parts that are made up is the radiator and the bevel drive, which is manufactured to 100% specification. So as I said, in fact, I've already been made an offer for the bike as is to go to Australia, but I've turned it down. I want to get that bike finished and get it on its own 2 wheels.
3 wheels.
Yeah, 3 wheels. In fact, 4 wheels, because it's a sidecar as well. And the sidecar is very interesting because it's what I don't know if any of you are familiar with the Bruff Superior, but it has a frame around it, which it has a tube around it, which is another 4 gallons of petrol. And then you use a pump to pump it from the sidecar into the motorbike. I'm not going to go that route, but I brought in an original sidecar from the UK. I've had it restored. So as I said, I really want to get that bike into a complete stage and on all its wheels, and then I'll decide what to do with it.
I think when it's done, you should give us another presentation on that as well. And a
Yes,
part
yes.
two of
I-
it.
Yeah. Okay, I can show you a quick look at what the bike looks like. Let's see what I did with those photographs. I'll just show you one photograph of, because the bike is pretty much near completion at the moment. Okay, let's find that. There we go. There's the bike so far. Yeah, so hopefully one day it'll be ready. When it is, we'll do another presentation.
That really looks good.
Yeah, but we've got a fair way to go. And in my spare time, it's
Paul, I mean, you got the secret, you know, I've always said, never keep track of what the cars cost you to restore. So when your wife asks you and you say, I don't know, then you're not lying.
Yeah, exactly. But it was quite interesting because, you know, I got made quite a good offer from this guy in Australia. And I actually said yes to him. And then I actually decided to come back and do a rough estimate of what I've paid up to date. And I suddenly realized he was buying this bike at 50% of its price. And the sidecar was worth more than the bike put together because it's an original Bruff Superior sidecar. So I phoned him up and I said, I've made a mistake. I've almost missed a zero, you know, on the figure. So that's why I decided there's no ways I can sell it at that kind of a discount. And I'm sure when I even worked out how much I spent of it, I actually had it wrong as well. Because I didn't even take into account the import duties and the stuff to bring it in and, you know, half of the other costs and the rest of it. So I think I made a good call in not selling it. So we'll just endure some punishment for another year.
You at least have to play with it before you sell it.
Yeah, absolutely. No two ways about it. Yeah, I mean, you know, almost every leg of doing that has been, you know, quite an exercise. I mean, just the radiators, you know, getting the measurements, getting it overseas, getting them to, you know, follow the pattern exactly, you know, doing the water pump. You know, I mean, each element of this bike is almost 1 year on its own. You know, in fact, what we're going to do, we're going to assemble it. Now that the rear wheels are on, we're going to assemble it. Then we're going to pull it apart. Because I think the frames just got so damaged from all the putting together and pulling apart. So we're going to repaint the frame again. Then we're going to do a final assembly. We're aiming to try and start that engine, you know, probably in the next month and get it going. Even the cylinder head on is not an Austin 7. They used what's called an Ultra cylinder head, which was used in the racing Ulsters, where the spark plugs come in at a 45-degree angle on the side. Because of course, if you use a normal cylinder head, your spark plug is in the middle, which is right on top of the fuel tank. So anytime you can never change a spark plug without removing the tank. So I managed to find 2 Ultra heads, and those things are as rare as hen's teeth. You just can't find them. So literally every part is so far an original part that was on that bike.
It's really a nice project.
When you send things away overseas to have repaired or remade or modified, you've obviously also got the risk of something getting lost along the way. That's also a major risk, probably.
You know, everything's been done here.
Oh, okay.
So at the moment, there's been no need to send anything abroad. I mean, it's a standard Austin 7 engine. It's been rebought to 805 cc's. I think the Austin 7 is 750. I haven't rebought my one because I heard that a lot of the original ones overheated on the rebore. It's not a particularly powerful a bike, but as I said, it'll plod along. You know, there's a number of YouTube. Just if you ever want to look into it, just go search Bruff Superior BS4.
Definitely will do. Thanks, Paul. Much appreciated. And as I say, we'll keep in touch to have a part 2 of your interesting presentations. It's really appreciated that you've done it in such short notice, and I think it's a wonderful project, both of them. I think it's really nice, and nice to see something different as well.
Right, you're welcome. As I said, if you go to YouTube, just search Koski Renault, you'll see there's 3 videos there.